Hungry dogs run fast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into my dog's favorite podcast, the Dynasty Dogs, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe. I am your host for this evening, Michael Anthony. Alongside me, as not always, because Rich is not here today, is my good friend Jesse Moeller. You can find him at jmoeller05 on Blue Sky, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is that it?
You got it, baby. That's the one. That's the one.
Part of the FFU. Great guy, great individual, great mind. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. It's been a fun off season, I will say. I haven't done much fantasy content, but if you want to go check out one of my videos, you can go check it out on Player Profile. I did the Puka Nacua breakdown. So if anyone wants to go check that out, go check that out. But enough talking about myself. This is your show, so I'm happy to hop on with you and, promote yourself. So thank you for having me on today.
Listen, I'm the host with the least, so anytime you just want to take over, you can, to be honest with you. I kind of just, like you, I think if you notice, I don't do a whole lot of show notes. Like I like to have more just straight conversation with somebody because I feel like it's more genuine that way. Like, I don't know. That's just me personally. But what else? You have the player profile Puka Nacua video out. Where can they find that? On player profile, I imagine?
Yeah, it's part of the draft kit. So if you do the draft kit, if you pay for it, you go to Puka Nacua. My video is the one attached to that. So if anyone wants to check that out, go do that. They reached out and I was like, heck yeah, let's have some fun with it. So yeah, it's like 3.5 minutes. It was a good time. I just watched it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm on there. Duh. So yeah, that's where I've been at. I've been so out of fantasy football lately. I'm like, oh yeah, I did stuff. I forgot.
Well, thank you for coming out of a brief retirement for us. Oh, by the way, player profile. I like how you mentioned them. They have I only started looking at their stuff on their website maybe within the past year, and they have a lot of good stat tracking. It's kind of close to PFF, right? I mean, I guess they've got a lot more different options to look at than PFF. And I like how when you scroll over a thing, it'll tell you what that means. Because there's some things that you would have no idea what the fuck that meant unless you really looked into it. So I appreciate something like that. Stats that the average person who just watches football would have no idea what the fuck that meant, right?
Right. It's very much for the fantasy football kind of nerds in a way, the guys that are really into the data. So if you're into that, I would recommend them. I don't want to promote another site since we're FFU, but if you're into that stuff, I would say go check it out. It's worth your time, at least.
Hey, listen, it's all for the love of the game at the end of the day when it comes to fantasy football and dynasty fantasy football. So, let's get it right into our That Bites segment. Here is our graphic for that. That is our news and notes segment. That we go over every week when there actually is news because there hasn't been much of anything lately. Until yesterday, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been one of the most active teams this offseason for some reason. We have Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a 2027 7th-round pick, which sounds like a dynasty trade if I've ever heard one, for Micah Fitzpatrick and a 5th-round pick. Let's just real quick, I know this is a fantasy football podcast, but Ramsey for Fitzpatrick seems weird, right? Ramsey's 30 years old. Fitzpatrick's 28, an all-pro safety, a real leader of a defense, in my opinion. I'm not saying Ramsey's not. He is one of the best corners we've seen in this, generation of football, but he's definitely on the downtick. We saw what Brian Thomas did to him last year. Now it's Brian Thomas, to be honest, but if you're not keeping up with those young guys anymore, you might not have it in you. I was very surprised that Pittsburgh was ready to move off a guy like Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, for me, the way I look at it, it comes down to the contract, and he was already paid a good amount of money. He was on top paid safeties in the NFL. This is the year before. He has 2 years left on his deal. Going in next year, he's going to want a massive upgrade of pay, right? So for where Pittsburgh's looking at, safeties do not last super long in the NFL. You're not going to see the majority of them pushing it out of 30s, right? So I kind of get where they're at with it, where you go little short-term window. With the 2 guys you're getting, you get Jonnu, help your offense, hopefully. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, you get one of the true playmaking, he's more of a rover at this point. He's not a traditional corner. They'll put him in the slot. They'll move around, follow guys. Do all the stuff they do with Ramsey, which, they just love going 8-9, 10-7. They just love that mediocre nonsense. Great defense. just like terrible offense. So it's just Pittsburgh. What can you say, right? Like that's all I got on it.
Forever 500, forever not first round knockout, kind of like a game of knockout in basketball where the first person gets eliminated right off the bat. The biggest thing for the fantasy purposes of this is a guy who really kind of broke out last year in the Miami offense is Jonnu Smith, traded along with Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you feel about Jonnu going forward now for his dynasty value, and if you think any kind of redraft value is coming from that either?
Well, it's tough because they have a quality NFL tight end. He's not great, but he's quality in Freiermuth. So you know he's going to be on the field. Arthur Smith loves 2 tight end sets. He might even go 3 tight end sets with this team because they do not have offensive weapons outside DK Metcalf. But like Jonnu's never been a full-time tight end, right? Like he's not like even last year he was only 58% route participation. That's not a lot of routes run. So like if we go back to his time with the Falcons, he was almost 70% of the routes. He did a decent job. He was splitting with Kyle Pitts. I would expect something similar where he'll have some boom bust weeks. You know, maybe he gives you between 50, 70-ish targets. Gives you some good stuff, but it's just going to be so hard to depend on him because the offense is not going to score a lot of touchdowns. They're not going to be one of the best scoring offenses in the NFL. So if you have this boom bust tight end, right? So, I mean, who knows? Aaron Rodgers, maybe he finds the ayahuasca fountain of youth and that happens. But yeah, it's just I don't mind him in best ball. Like I'm okay taking that, or in like super tight end premium leagues like Scott Fishbowl or something. But outside of that, man, I don't know about you and how you feel about Jonnu, but like I'm kind of with you, just not really interested in him, fortunately.
So my thing, believe it or not, and a person not talked about enough is Darnell Washington, the tight end they drafted like 2 years ago, right? Two and a half years ago now. That dude is just like a monster. I felt like they should have been using him a lot more. Now that dream is kind of dead at this point, in my opinion. I have no interest in Jonnu whatsoever. To be honest, all of the pass catchers outside DK, because he's going to be the one that's fed, I have no interest in. Running game is who I have interest in. I don't trust an Aaron Rodgers, Arthur Smith-led offense. I feel like that's just a recipe for disaster, right? I like Jonnu was a really good story last year. He's been a solid tight end. I can't say he just broke it. He's been solid, but Jalen Waddle was banged up. Tyreek Hill was banged up. They kind of needed Jonnu to be that guy, right? Now, he's kind of in a similar situation where he's the second best pass catching target on this offense right now, right? Maybe. Yeah. So I just don't see the passing volume though. Like they don't have that type of offense where they're going to throw 40 some odd times a game like Tua would have in a normal season. So I have no interest in him. Pat Freiermuth, when we did the Make Your Case for Selling tight ends episode just a few weeks ago, Pat Freiermuth was a sell for me during that because they had been linked to Jonnu before. They had been linked to, I think, other tight ends. I think Kyle Pitts was mentioned at one point in this offseason. So something didn't pass the smell test with the Pittsburgh Steelers when it came to Pat Freiermuth. And he's just been uber inconsistent kind of throughout his whole career. Like he's just been like tight end 14, I think, at most of the time. Like he did have that one season. He broke into the top 10. So he's just kind of a there guy, kind of guy you hope he's your tight end too. Hopefully you're not starting him weekly. But yeah, Jonnu, I was looking at his keep trade cut value earlier, like we were talking about. Hasn't changed yet because the trade just happened, right? As of right now, he's still valued around tell me if you have interest in these guys or Jonnu. Harold Fannin.
I mean, yeah. So those guys are very similar from. Yeah, we've gone over this a touch, not on screen, but Fannin is very much what Jonnu Smith is. That's kind of the guy you want him to be in his NFL career, right? Where you kind of dictate something, use him in space, get him the ball. So yeah, I'll take the rookie just in case something happens. But if you need production this year, Jonnu's gonna outproduce Fannin. Yeah, but for sure in Dynasty, just give me the young guy because he can at least hold his value.
Actually, I'm going to give you two off the radar kind of guys. Cade Otton.
I don't even want Cade Otton.
Yeah,
what is he? A fifth option of that offense? Dude,
probably.
Yeah, no. I'll pass on Cade Otton.
But it's a higher passing volume offense. I think that's fair, right? I think Baker will throw a bunch of times. I forgot to hit the little ticker there at the bottom. But I made that right before, and I thought, maybe I'll remember to hit it, and I didn't. Anyway, last one here, Ben Sinnott. Would you like to take a gamble on Ben Sinnott?
Oh, my heart goes out to Ben Sinnott, the juggernaut last year. Yeah, I'm not like, so if a guy face plants like Sinnott did, I'm not really gonna have interest. I said this with the whole Trey McBride thing where Trey McBride had a very similar rookie season to Sinnott. Obviously, he did a little bit more. I'm just not interested in Sinnott. I think I would rather take whatever the pick is. If you're moving for Sinnott, just get the pick instead, because I think you can at least do something with that. Sinnott just seems like he's just dead on arrival right now, unfortunately. So I'll take Jonnu on that. But yeah, that kind of shows you where Jonnu's at, right? Like, it doesn't feel good. I think on Dynasty Daddy, he's down 9%. Like, his value's at 2,600. So it's just like, he's not worth very much. Like, it's basically a third.
Yeah, I was going to say,
sure.
2026 third at this point. Maybe you could sneak in a 2027 second. Like, maybe, because people are kicking the can way down the road there.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, if I could get that, I think I would do it.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
Any more ammunition to get Jeremiah Smith or Cam Coleman or any of those guys, I want that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I think getting rid of Jonnu is pretty much the safest bet, unless you really have no other fucking options, to be honest.
You're looking at your roster, it's gross. You're like, well, okay, tight end 24 coming to my team. Oh, gosh.
Well, we are going to talk about the main part of this podcast, which I forgot to bring in during the intro. So, like I said, the host with the least can't even remember how to open a show. But we're going to be talking about the NFC West, which is a division you're all too familiar with, as I can tell by the Seahawks colors behind you.
We moved into this house and this room was already painted, so like I don't want to look like I'm a crazy person. No, for real. Like, we moved here like 7 years ago, and we come into the room and it's like Seahawks colors, and I'm like, well, I guess it was meant to be. We're just gonna do it. So
you mean to tell me somebody put a lime green strip in there?
Dude, this is the thing. You come into the Pacific Northwest, we love the Seahawks. People are nuts about the Seahawks. I know everyone's like, you guys drink coffee, you're hella chill. Not when it comes to football, man. We love the Seahawks. And it's like, so yeah, we light up fireworks outside my house all the time, all of my neighbors. It's chaos during Seahawks games. I feel bad for my dog, but that's the life of the Seahawks.
That's the worst part. It was a couple of fireworks and dogs. But that's the part, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this episode is because you are a huge Seahawks fan, and I want you to talk positively about the 49ers. So let's start with your dog tag. Well, let's talk about the 49ers real quick before you get into your dog tag and talk house. They are currently per BetMGM at 10.5 win total to win that division. How do you feel about that?
As far as their overall betting odds and where they're at, it's very similar to the Seahawks, I think, because it's going to come down to the offensive line. Both teams are in transition to the offensive line. They obviously have the guy everyone knows in Trent Williams, but he's like 37, 38 at this point. It's going to fall apart, right? So they're moving pieces around that offensive line. If they can figure it out, they still have really good players in that offense. I know the guys are getting older, but you still have premium weapons. Ayuk's coming back from an injury. I love Ricky Pearsall. I think he's a very quality NFL wide receiver. So I think this year they're going to be fine offensively. It's just more about the line if they can figure it out on defense. So I'm probably not going to take 10.5 because that means they're going to win 11. But I think they're going to finish in that range. I would take the under on that betting line, but wouldn't surprise me to see them win 10 games. I think they're a quality team in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you think 10 sounds about right?
Yeah,
just
I think it's a good line.
Coaching.
Yeah.
They are the 7th oldest roster, if I'm not mistaken. It might have changed because Debo got dealt. They had some draft picks, but that was the last I've seen. It was 7th. Trent Williams, though, is one of the best tackles in all of football, but he's been banged up also. So that's got to be something and I don't know how this happens, but the 49ers seem to be the most injury-riddled teams year in and year out. Somebody's always banged up. Somebody's missing multiple weeks. It must suck because it's got to be super frustrating because they always are that 10.5, 12 win type teams, but they can never get the job finished. Ayuk, though, is an interesting case because he's going to be out at least the first few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's been that back and forth on whether he really is happy with the 49ers. So will he be dealt? I don't know. Do you think Ricky Pearsall and Jonnu Smith, Jawan Jennings as wide receivers, obviously they have George Kittle. Do you think they have enough to carry the team as pass catchers for the 49ers?
Yeah, you saw what Kittle did last year. He's George Kittle. I think since 2019, 2018, he's been the tight end 6 points per game or better every season. You know what you're getting. Yeah, I think Juwan Jennings is a really weird case of a 27-year-old breaking out. It almost never happens. I think like Devontae Parker was the last guy to do that. He's just he's a really good run blocker, and then he does things on the field where he's more of a PPR machine. What I like about him and Ricky Pearsall is Pearsall is going to do what Ayuk does, and he's a man beater. And you saw it against the Lions. Like Ricky Pearsall absolutely cooked in the end of the season, and they just like went to him down the stretch. So I know it's a small sample size with Pearsall, but I think they work really well in tandem with each other, and they let Ayuk come back slow, which is the best thing for this offense. You still have Kittle. You still have CMC. Like you talk about all these guys, they're still some of the best players. Like Kittle and CMC are 2 of the best 5 players of their position. I know they're getting older, but they're great. I think this offense is really good and set up for another good. I know you particularly don't like their quarterback. I'm more of a fan of their quarterback per se. I think Brock Purdy is a quality NFL QB in a really good system. It's like Sam Darnold, but better in like kind of similar to the KOC situation. Like you have the Shanahan scheme, you know what they're going to do. Overall, I'm buying these pieces all over the place. I think they're all going to succeed, and might be a little boom bust, but I think they're all really good pieces at prices.
Of course, you had to bring up that I'm a Brock Purdy hater. I think I bring that up every week. Out of nowhere, it'll just come up. Yeah, I hate Brock Purdy. I just like for him. I think I just have a hatred for system quarterbacks. I think I'm starting to notice a trend in myself, right? Because those guys are kind of easily replaced, in my opinion. Yep. That's the biggest problem. And he doesn't. They just paid him, so he's probably safe at this point. But if they don't get this figured out, Shanahan might be on the hot seat, right? Because they started to, lose a bit last year, and things started to unravel. Now, when you mentioned CMC, he's the biggest question mark for me, because when they started coming out with reports that, the beginning of the season, he's going to be playing, and then all of a sudden at game time, he's out. And then he doesn't play for like 6 weeks or whatever the hell it was. He goes to Germany or wherever he went. When you go overseas for injuries, that's when I start to get a little nervous, right? Because that means you're getting more and more opinions and things start to get a little bit more choppy, right? Do you think CMC is going to be ready to go? Like, do you believe he's back to maybe full go?
Yeah, realistically, he's my favorite fantasy player of all time. Like, I love Christian McCaffrey is what he's done. So I know, like, the one thing I hate being a Seahawks fan is the San Francisco 49ers have 2 of my all-time favorite players that I've ever seen play, George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. I'm like, why do you guys have my favorite players? Get them off of there. It's just like the way they play and what they do, they differentiate. It's particularly Kittle. But, like, CMC is just such a weapon in what he does. Even last year, injury plague season, you look across his metrics, he's a great pass catcher. The running was down a little bit, but I expect that to come back. He's just such a special player, and he shifts how defenses play offense. Like, it's rare to see a running back do that in today's NFL. He's one of the guys, they will bring a guy, or they will make sure they hold the flat and watch out for McCaffrey, and they let guys get deep. So I just think he's that good of a weapon. Now you have the injury issue. He's getting older. He's pushing 30 at this point. Like, he's 28, 29. So it's getting there, but like you have this window. I think we still have a couple years left with him to be a really good asset, and this might be his last truly elite season. But yeah, I think he's going to do it and everything they've said about him. But it's funny you mentioned the guys going to like overseas for STEM work. That's what George Kittle did this last offseason. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But for me as a dynasty manager, I don't mind diving into the uncertainty with injuries because it creates buying opportunities is the way I look at it. Because if CMC was fully healthy, his price would be a lot higher. Like I did an offseason deal where I basically swapped him and Derrick Henry. And I was like, yeah, happily, let's do that because Henry's really old. He's 2 years older. Yeah, I know. Because Henry just had that peak season, right? But like, if I could tear down a few years with CMC, ideally he stays, he doesn't fall out of the league. It's tough with these age guys, or like Kamara's the same thing. He's an even cheaper version of that. But yeah, like I'm just, to the day I die, I'm just going to want Christian McCaffrey on my roster, same thing with George Kittle. I think they're just truly special Hall of Fame level talents. So yeah, if you're going to ever ask me to rave about 2 49ers, those are the 2 49ers to rave about because I love those guys.
I don't know how. Listen, trading Derrick Henry for CMC, I don't know if I could do that. You're a brave soul for doing that, especially since the report just came out. I don't know if you saw, Derrick Henry has to hit a benchmark to get in a new Adam Sandler movie. So I don't want to motivate a Derrick Henry. Like I don't want to bet against motivated Derrick Henry. But let's get into your dog. Do you want to go negative or positive first with the 49ers? You want to go dog tag or dog house first? Did you just gave them a positive? Let you go negative.
I know. So I struggle with this. I would say the cheapest guy is going to be Juwan Jennings. I actually think the guy I don't want to invest in this offense, which sounds crazy, is Brandon Ayuk, because coming off of the injury, You're dealing with that. You have to wait at least 4 weeks. That's basically what he's going to miss. And then you got a couple weeks after that where he's got to wrap himself up, right? So we're talking week 6, week 7 before maybe he's even healthy. And then you have to wait that whole half a year. Hope it comes back. It's just like, I don't like guys coming off of severe knee injuries, like what Ayuk is coming off of the next season. That's where the trouble really stems for. So particularly, he's not young anymore. Like he came out old, like similar to Ricky Pearsall, he came out older. He's like 24, you know? So he's not young. There's also this too. So Ayuk's a guy I'm selling in Dynasty. As good as he is, I know he's a really good player, but he's never had a breakout season, and he probably won't with this offense they have with CMC and Kittle unless those guys just get traded, and then maybe it happens. But I think the way I think this season works out is that Ayuk is probably the most disappointing of all of the big name guys for the 49ers.
Now, okay, so you're just saying out of the big three, like him, Kittle, and CMC, like out of those three, he's the most disappointing.
Yeah, because they're the most they're the most expensive. I guess like it's interchangeable with Pearsall and Ayuk for like dynasty value, so you can make a case for either one. I would just go with the younger guy that just showed he was good and isn't dealing with the injury. But I've been wrong before. I could easily be wrong on this one again because I know he's a talented player, right? So, how do you kind of feel about Ayuk overall? Your dynasty look? Are you buying him? Are you selling him? Or are you kind of out with him?
He's tough because the knee, anytime a wide receiver has a knee injury, my ears start burning a little bit. I start to get a little bit of the tingles, a little bit of the nervous tingles, a little bit of anxiety. But he's never had like an outstanding season, like you mentioned. But he's just been solid, right? Mm-hmm. Also has dealt with injuries kind of throughout his career, if I'm not mistaken, too. He's just when he's healthy, he's a high PPR asset. Essentially, they brought in Ricky Pearsall to be Brandon Ayuk, right? So when Ayuk is healthy, he's that guy, right? So for me, I still kind of want him, to be honest with you. I want him on my rosters, like for contending rosters. For rebuilding rosters, obviously, you want nothing to do with him. I think he's 28 now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he's 27 going on 28. Yeah,
28. So he's definitely somebody, like if you're rebuilding, obviously, I'd sell him for, what do you think, early second? Late first, like that 112 probably gets it done. Would you, if you're a contender, are you taking Pearsall over Ayuk?
Yeah. Like I was, so if you go check the tapes from the FFU, I was raving about Ricky Pearsall last year. I'll out myself here. I had him above Lab McConkey in my rankings for rookies last year. That's how bullish I was on him. It did not work out very well. Lab McConkey was a monster. But I had those guys very similar just because I liked him. And then Matt Harmon was like, oh, yeah, he's really good. And I was like, all right, I'm with you, Matt. Let's roll with my guy. So, yeah, I've been a Pearsall guy ever since his time at Arizona State, going to Florida. Like, he showed basically everything I want to see from a wide receiver. So I think he's entering into that kind of prime age for wide receiver. So I think he's going to take a big jump this year. And by the end of the year, his value is going to be a lot higher than what it is right now.
You know what I'm thinking? I don't know where this came from, but we saw 49ers wide receiver get traded to the Washington Commanders. That was supposed to be Brandon Ayuk. Like, that was all during the season he was supposed to be a Commander. Would this have changed? Like, would your answer have changed if he was a Commander, even if he was coming off that injury?
I'd be a little bit more open to it just because that wide receiver room isn't good. Like, it's Terry McLaurin, and it's like
nobody else.
It's rough, right? Yeah. So I'd be more willing to invest in the injury. Like, with the 49ers, I just know they have such talent around him. It's going to be like, there's no room for him to miss up because it's like, all right, Ayuk struggling. Why would I throw him the ball? Just give it to Kittle, give it to CMC. So, like, that's kind of my thought process with it. But I would be a little bit more interested. And with Jane Daniels, that offense, like, you never know how it's going to go this year. They could just go nuclear, right? Just because year 1, year 2. So, yeah, it'd be interesting for sure. But I would still be overall fading him because I would imagine his price would be, like, a lot higher than it is, too, just because he'd be with them. But, so I'd still fade him.
So if I was, like, you just asked me, I'm just thinking in my head, like, say I'm a contender, right? And somehow I ended up acquiring like a projected early 2026 second. Like, that happens all the time. You're a contender. Yeah. You sometimes end up with these picks that you got in the throw-in somehow. I would probably take a flyer on Brandon Ayuk just to see kind of what happens. Adds another wide receiving piece to my offense that I'm trying to win. And if he comes back week 3, he's probably going to take a few weeks to get right. And then you have him for towards the playoff spin, that could be the best part of your season, right? Or the best part of his season to help you out. So I think I'm going to go against you on this one, but I kind of see the reasons why, if that makes sense. Like, because he's older, coming off an injury, they have quality around him that, if he's not producing, they have other guys to do it, So I see the spin. Who's your dog tag for the 49ers? Who are you in on?
So, well, it's just all the old dudes that I really like. Yeah. So from a dynasty perspective, I still think Ricky Pearsall is the best buy of all of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you two options. So if you're going to be a contending roster, just go get CMC and just ride that thing out for 3 years. Like, you're going to love that. There's a bit of these injuries. It's fine. If I'm going longer term, well, I don't need to win now. I made a move on a rebuilding team where I traded Chuba Hubbard straight up for Ricky Pearsall. So I did that on a rebuild, and I was like, this is probably as max Chuba's value is going to get, just how the situation's all working out for him. So basically late one range, I flipped him for that. I was happy to do that on a non-contending roster because I'm trying not to win either. So I think Chuba is going to be a really good player this year. So yeah, I would say Ricky Pearsall is that guy overall I'm buying. If you're a contender, just go get the two old studs. You know what they are. Like, you're not going to hate having George Kittle or CMC on your roster. Like, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't see a world. So I could see CMC being outside the top 8, right, in fantasy production for running backs, just because we don't know, right? And we just kind of saw what happened last year. There is no doubt in my mind that George Kittle is going to be top 5 at worst.
Yes.
At worst. Like, if he finishes below 5, like that would be extremely rare for me. And just the way he plays, the way he keeps his he's usually, if he's banged up, he's playing. I don't have to worry about that with him, right? So I'm all 100% in on him. What would you be willing to give up for a guy like George Kittle?
George Kittle, is it tight end premium or is it non-tight end premium? Because I think that's going to be – sorry, I got the chopper in the background on what's going on here. But –
We're coming for you after talking shit.
Yeah, I guess so. The 49ers fans are really coming. But, yeah, I think for Kittle, if it's tight end premium, I would probably do a mid-one on a contender. Yeah. I would have a hard time doing that price range, though, so I would look for pieces, the way to move into them, as opposed to giving the mid one, because I just hate trading picks personally. So I would try to find ways to package two pieces together, upgrade, maybe a Godwin plus, if you pick a younger guy like a Trey Harris or something, put those guys together. Maybe you could do that done somewhere in that range. Two guys that are late 2s. So yeah, I'm totally fine doing that. And then CMC, it's about the same. Because of the injury uncertainty with him, it's a little bit easier to get him in that late 1 range, right? So I think you could just find ways to get him for a little bit cheaper. So if you have these young guys, if you have a Golden, or you have anyone that late 1 range that you took, I would do Caleb. I would do the Pittsburgh Steelers running back. Caleb Johnson. Was it? Yeah, I would do Caleb Johnson straight up for CMC.
Yeah, probably.
That's just me being a big CMC guy. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't do that. I am not 100% convinced Caleb Johnson could be a pass catcher. That's my whole thing with him. So I don't know if he could do it or not. Maybe he can. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's the next Kenneth Walker. I don't think he's that good, though. But, if I could do that, I'll just take the production now for CMC, and I will just ride that and go for the title for the next couple of years.
So I kind of see what I like that move, Caleb Johnson for CMC. That's a gamble for sure. I've not been the biggest Caleb fan. I've kind of made that known on this show. I do kind of disagree with his pass catching. I think he's got quality hands. I do doubt his route running ability as a running back, though. I don't see that. Mostly out the flat, mostly just ankle routes. They're decent. But I would do that. And then with with Kittle, what about, say, for instance, you have Mark Andrews. Now, I'm still a guy who kind of believes in Mark Andrews, a guy who's probably going to finish as tight end 8, right? Because Lamar, and that's still quality, right? That's not the best quality, but it's the best you're going to get in the tight end realm at this point, right? Yeah. Lamar kind of still believes in Mark Andrews, and I know the stink is on him after he dropped that pass in the game. Would you maybe give up a Mark Andrews and, let's say, a late 26th second to get a Kittle?
Yeah, I'll do that move. The weird thing about Andrews is he has the one monster season in 2021. Outside of that, there's really no, it's just that's a huge outlier season. And I think that's been boosting up his value ever since, because he's been good to your point, but he only has 2 top 3 seasons.
Yeah, but he's been tight end 6. He's been tight end 6 every year.
The problem is he just doesn't give you the ceiling that Kittle gives you. It's just it's similar to Kittle. It's the target competition. They don't pass a lot, all these issues, right? But Kittle gives you, I think it's a better chance to get into there. So if I'm paying a late second, I'll do it. They're both old. Andrews isn't young. So I know he's a little bit younger. I think he's like a year and a half younger. Like he's going on age 30 this year. So Kittle's got him like a year, I think. So yeah, I'm fine making that move personally. Would you do that?
So I'm an Andrews guy, so probably not, but I could see the reasons why. Like the upside is not there with Mark Andrews anymore. Like obviously they have the heir apparent in Isaiah Likely right behind him as well. So if I'm trying to win, actually talking myself into it, if I'm trying to win now, I think I would do it because you're going to get Kittle in the San Francisco offense for years to come. Is Mark Andrews a Baltimore Raven, much longer? Know that they have Isaiah Likely waiting in the wings. Is he going to be the focal point of another offense? That we have no idea, right? But let's talk about another team in your division. And I'm going to go with the Rams first. I'll start with Doghouse, but I almost flipped my Doghouse to a different player. And real quick, I just want to touch on this because Sleeper tweeted it out a little bit ago. They tweeted out, would you take Drake London and a first for Puka Nacua?
Ooh, where's the first? Because
it just says 2026 first. It doesn't say.
It's random first.
It's been a trade that they had because Sleeper HQ tweeted it out. It's like a trade that somebody did.
I would take the Puka side because I'm convinced Puka Nacua is one of the best wide receivers. I don't think people fully understand how good Puka Nacua has been his entire NFL career.
Mm-hmm.
And with Drake London, there's a lot of elements to like there, and you saw the little with Penix, but that last game just dramatically increased his stats, right? So without Penix and all the issues on there, I want to see a little bit more. I'll admit there's risk giving up a random first in this deal because you don't know where the thing's going to end and that can kill you. But I was so convinced with Puka last year. Breece Hall, I sent him straight up for Puka. I was like, and this is when Breece Hall was pushing RB1, right? I was like, yeah, take Breece Hall. They're like, I'll take Puka, please, all day. So I've been a Puka guy ever since going into last year. This is another guy that I was vouching for. He does everything. He's a dog. He wins all of the type of routes, and he even got he took a big step forward more than Drake London did. So I'm just super convinced with Puka Nacua. I think he's a tier 1 cornerstone dynasty wide receiver. I have him you could convince me with CeeDee Lamb and him. I don't mind flipping those two guys. He's in that tier 1. That's where I'm at with Puka. Drake London's lower, so for me, it's a tier upgrade. I'd do it, but I'm assuming most people in Dynasty are probably going to take the package.
Yeah, I think I would take the first on that side because I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think the drop-off between Puka to Drake London is first worthy. I think we saw what the dude had to deal with Desmond Ridder and the corpse of Kirk Cousins for the first 2 years of his career. So we saw what that offense looked like when they fed him the ball. I forget what it is. I had it on my notes from last week, I believe it was. He was just getting absolutely fed the rock. Michael Penix. And that's kind of what we've been waiting for. And there's a guy and a quarterback, obviously, in Michael Penix that I trust to hyper target guys and, throw the ball extremely well. One of the most accurate quarterbacks coming out of that class, in my opinion. Real quick, you did mention, this is not my doghouse, but we're talking Puka. His 37.1 target rate last season was the highest among all wide receivers with at least 75 routes run in 19 years. He's still breaking records even after his rookie season. So it's very impressive. But that's enough love for Puka Nacua because that was not my dog tag or doghouse. I just wanted to bring that up because it was interesting. Also, the Rams are – oh, hold on. Thing is gone. There it is. They are projected to win 9.5 games, and I think with Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jared Verse, what's the center? Not the center's name. The D tackle Fisk, the dude from Florida State that came.
Brandon Fisk,
yeah. I think they have an absolute solid roster across the board. I don't think it would not shock me if the Niners and the Rams flipped. Right, if the Rams won that division over the 49ers. I think that team's pushing. They gave the Eagles. I almost shit my pants when Puka Nacua caught that ball down the sideline against the Eagles.
Dude,
I was in a panic.
Dangerous.
Yeah,
I do not blame you. I would have been scared too. I was watching that game. I was it's a monster, man. I'm telling you.
My doghouse though. I got a little off topic, but I got excited. Is going to be Kyron Williams. And that's going to probably be a little bit of a shock. to most people, and it will be a shock to Rich when he hears this because he is a huge Kyren Williams fan. They've brought in running backs the past 2 years. They spent third-round capital on Blake Corum. I was never high on Blake Corum, so this wasn't a shock to me that he really didn't produce anything year one. I do think he probably will get some run early. Then they drafted a guy in Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round that they moved up for, and if you watch that draft reaction to them drafting him, it just seems like that was their favorite player in the draft. But my biggest thing with Kyren Williams is he had 6 fumbles last year, including the playoffs. And most of those fumbles came in big games. He had 3 against the Eagles, 2 in the first game, 1 in the playoff game, 1 in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. And just you can't put the football on the ground as the RB1 for an offense for a team that is trying to win another Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford before he retires, right? That is the quickest way to lose that job. And he's still worth, even with the addition of Jarquez Hunter, he's still worth that mid to, that 1.7 to 1.9 range of first-round picks, in my opinion. And I'd be honest, I'd probably sell him off for that. If I could get an RJ Harvey for him, I think I would do that. Even a 2026 mid-first, I believe I would do that. And then you mentioned Derrick Henry earlier. If I'm a contender and I can tear down from Kyren Williams to a Derrick Henry, if I could get something on top of Derrick Henry, I think I would absolutely do that. I'm a little afraid of him right now, right? They added another high-quality pass catcher in Devontae Adams. They added another running back. By the way, they add running backs every year. So it's been Jarquez, Blake Corum, man, I've never been so upset in my life when Zach Evans wasn't a good football player. He was good.
Yeah,
It's just so sad that he never.
Matt Waldman was absolutely going bonkers about him, and I was like, "All right, I'll trust you, Matt Waldman. Let's take some flyers." And it just did. He wasn't there mentally. So sometimes that happens with NFL players. They're just not, not ready to be professionals, and that's the quickest way out the leg for you.
Fun fact: he was ranked higher than Bijan Robinson coming out of high school at one point during that scouting process, which is crazy to think about. But again, I think I'm pretty much ready to move off of Kyren. Or, another, if you don't want to go running back, I think you could still get a Rashee Rice for a Kyren Williams at this point if you want to do a player-for-player trade. I don't know if that's...
Oh, please.
Yeah, I saw that on Dynasty Daddy. Yeah, I saw that on Dynasty Daddy. Somebody did that today. Yeah, so I would absolutely be interested in that. What do you think of Kyren?
Yeah, I have issues. There's a ton of red flags with Kyren Williams, honestly. He's a day 3 pick. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. He's also inefficient. So, when you put those things together, if you have a guy you're consistently feeding the rock to, this happens with NFL teams all the time. We saw this happen with Rashad White. We saw this happen with Ezekiel Elliott. When guys are not efficient, teams look for other guys who take that. Why he gets so much work is they don't trust the other guys behind him. So, they'll give him the rock because they don't have competition there that they trust. If they do trust Jarquez Hunter this year, which they do, and he cuts into his workload. We saw this with Travis, with ETN last year. His workload just dramatically decreased because he had a bad year, right? And then they kind of shifted and that offense just went to crap last year. That happens. I don't think their offense is going to be bad, so I think Kyron's still going to be fine for you. But at his current price in Dynasty, I'm with you. Unless they and of course, the Rams, who knows, maybe they decided they haven't learned from the Todd Gurley thing, right? And they're like, let's give him a lot of money. Because there's been contract extension talks supposedly, so we'll see. But where he's at right now, if I can get that price you're talking about, if I'm moving into Kamara or Henry with a nice early second, I'm getting equal or better production, and then I'm just banking the pick, and then you remove all the issues that you have with him in Dynasty because he seems super fragile. Right. So get out, because if he's basically just valued so high because he's young, right? So there's that room. It's just I'm with you. I'm out on him at the price.
Well, that kind of brings me into my dog tag, as you mentioned efficiency. And there was a very efficient runner that they drafted this year. And that's going to be Jarquez Hunter coming from Auburn. So here's some of my notes from Jarquez Hunter from when I scouted his film. Strong runner, ping-pongs off defenders, one-cut runner, especially bouncing back in the holes. Really like his vision and patient, decent burst while bouncing out, but does not have the long speed to continue that. Those long runs, in my opinion. Shows capable hands, but not a huge part of his game. 7 fumbles in his 4-year career. That's going to have to be something that's going to have to be worked on. And I have a video of it somewhere. Maybe I'll pull it up for this episode. But a run against Alabama where he looked absolutely dead to rights behind the line of scrimmage, made one bounce, broke a tackle, and took it to the house. It was just a beautiful run. Some of his stats coming out of Auburn, he was 762 yards after contact, which is solid.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that goes back to the ping-ponging off defenders. 4.1 yards after contact, which is solid. 23 carries of 15 plus yards or more. When you put too many numbers, for me, I start to get really freaked out. But I really like Jarquez Hunter, and apparently so do the Rams, because like I mentioned,
yes,
I kind of fed the lead a little bit there when I mentioned the Jarquez Hunter draft video, but they just seemed like it was Christmas Day for them to get a guy like Jarquez Hunter. And we were getting him in the late third of our rookie drafts. Mm-hmm. Like, how lucky were we, right? And I don't know if we're getting him for that price anymore. I don't – do you think so?
I mean, I think he's – you're not going to get a second for him, right? So I think he's maybe early third.
Yeah, I think
he's got up a little bit, right? We've gotten some hype on him. So, yeah, to your point, the whole thing with Kyron, he's not inefficient. He doesn't make explosive plays. That's what Jarquez Hunter does. He's an explosive element in this offense, and they desperately need that out of the running game. So if he does what he did in college where he gives them those big plays, he's going to get fed more. It's just what it's going to be, right? It's just as long as you go hold on the ball, don't fumble, and then you'll be good. So overall, I think there's a lot of upside attached to him. I think they like him a lot, like you talked about. They moved up. So he's the type of guy you take shots on late in day 3, round 3, round 4 in rookie picks. And if it hits, this is the whole Kyron Williams thing all over again, right? Where Kyron was super late, and we're like, frig it, just fire him up, see what happens. So this is why we always invest in these murky running back rooms, because it's not typical murky room, but yeah, there's upside attached to him. So I'm with you. I'm all for that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird how they're both power runners, right? They kind of both are very similar in that aspect. I kind of maybe I'm just saying this because I'm hyping up currently, but I feel like Jarquez might be a stronger runner than Kyron Williams. I just I saw him down at the Senior Bowl, and he looks like a muscle hamster a little bit. Not there's nobody like Maurice Jones-Drew, or not Maurice Jones-Drew. Well, who's
that's a tank. You're talking about the guy from Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. What's his name? I'm blanking on it. I know it too. It's there. I don't know. Blanking.
Oh my God.
Muscle hamster. Doug Martin.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Oh, I was about to have a
and he hated that nickname too.
Well, I don't know, man. I think that's a cool ass nickname, but yeah, I listen. It would not shock me if Kyron comes out leading the backfield early. If he puts that football on the ground like he's done last year, we could start seeing Jarquez eat into that workload now. If they're winning a lot still with, Kyron being that guy, it might not be as much as we hope. I don't see the Rashad White, Bucky Irving situation from last year. I could see it maybe, 70-30 and then starting to peak up maybe 35% for Jarquez. Maybe he hits 40 at some point towards the end of the season, depending on the team. But again, if they're not winning and Kyron's on a contract year, they might start feeding Jarquez more. I don't see that happening because I think the Rams are a good football team. But I think Jarquez Hunter is going to carve out some sort of a role for himself. So for me, it's more of a 2026 kind of stash for Jarquez Hunter for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the way that their offense struggles if Stafford gets hurt and he's dealt with a ton of injuries, right?
Oh, they're done.
When something like that happens, right? Then they're like, all right, let's see what we got, because you got Kyron who's already inefficient. They're not going to skip you. So, yeah, I think that scenario could play out, and he's like, oh, yeah, he's up for it. He could be kind of what Jalen Warren was a couple years, 2 years ago with Najee, where he got real close to 40-ish% in that range. I could see that, pushing the high-end range of outcomes for him. It could work out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we get to talk about your most exciting part of this episode, probably. It's going to talk about your Seattle Seahawks. What do they look like right now on MGM? They are 8.5.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just start out with Cup.
Is that
Cup has fallen up. Yeah, he's my dog tag.
Dog tag?
Yeah. Or sorry, doghouse. Excuse me. Doghouse.
Okay.
I got it mixed up. I was confused in my head. Yeah, I am not interested in Cooper Kupp at all. It scares the crap out of me right now. He's an old guy who's dealt with a ton of injuries, and his production has continued to fall off the last 3 consecutive years in a row. Unlike Devontae Adams, I think Devontae Adams is still a very quality NFL receiver. Kupp is just you look across the metrics and everything, they still fed him a lot, I think that has to do more with the wide receiver competition in that room outside of Puka. It was Puka, it's Cup, it's like Demarcus Robinson, a bunch of just like Tutu Atwell guys that are just kind of just whatever, right? Yeah. So like, and who knows, they might feature winning to this year because of that wide receiver room, but there just wasn't a lot of competition. And McVay loves Cooper Kupp. He's one of his like favorite players of all time, right? So they still fed him, but you just watched him, he didn't look the same anymore. Like he just doesn't look like that guy where you could consistently count on him like you can with Puka. So yeah, that contract, when it came out, I like wanted to pull my non-existent hair out. I was like, what are we doing here? That seemed way too over the top. And I get it because the Seahawks wide receiver room was, once they said CJ Lighter to DK Metcalf, like what's going on in this wide receiver room? There's nothing, but like JSN's so similar to Cup. He's more explosive now, but like they share a lot of similarities in how they win and how they won. So like I was very perplexed by this offseason in general. Like I get it with Sam Darnold. We can talk about that and kind of the up and down nature of this offense might be, but like we talked about with the Rams the 49ers, it's the offensive line. That offensive line has been dog shit, excuse my language, for the last forever. They have, in the last 9 drafts, they've only spent 2 top 50 picks on offensive linemen, and their offensive linemen has just been
bad.
Abysmal. Yeah, it's like, and the whole reason they did one of them is because they lucked into the Broncos pick. So they had the luxury pick at 5 and then 10. They're like, all right, we'll take Charles Cross. He's a good lineman. Sure, let's draft him. But outside of that, man, like, so I was like just hoping they took Gray's Abel because I was, you guys got to get an interior offense lineman. Just please, for the love of God, get one. Now their center and their right guards, it's like super questionable. So we will see what happens. They got Abe Lucas, who's, dealing knee injuries and stuff, but yeah, you can tell I'm already stressed out just thinking about it. So it's going to be super up and down. Like they'll have some good plays. They'll have some bad plays. Darnold's got a really good arm. Like he can make plays. It's the mental stuff that always worries me about Darnold. So yeah,
the seeing ghost thing, especially with a bad offensive line. Was it their center that retired during the season last year? Was that it?
Yeah. The guy from like Connor Williams, the guy from they got from the Dolphins. We were pumped. They got him, and he's just like, hey, peace out. Like I was like, what's going on? This is not good. But yeah, it reminds me of Keanu Reeves in The Replacements when he talks about like this the quicksand. That's what I feel like with Sam Darnold when too much stuff happens around him. He just starts sinking and you see it. So hopefully KOC figured it out. Like he did improve a lot and hide some of his issues. And this gets into the QBX scheme where they're gonna do a lot of play action. They're gonna run deep shots to do those things. So you can talk yourself into it. But just know it's going to be up or down. Like I'm not good. I know I'm not going to enjoy watching these games personally. So particularly with the old guy Cup coming off all the injuries, like I'm just going to pass on him.
I 100% agree with you. There's been no interest for Cup for me. He's definitely lost a step, right? Mm-hmm. But like that lost step, he's still getting open, he's still getting targeted, which is crazy, right? So he's still going to be a target hog now, whether they are completed targets or not, it's going to remain to be seen. But the Seahawks also added some very interesting players in the draft, and Torrey Horton and my guy Ricky White, who I love. Ricky White. I think this is the kind of guy that could make some noise and maybe in special teams and stuff like that, where he's going to end up getting himself a role.
100%.
That's just me. Yeah. And then you got one of the freakiest athletes in this draft class in the safety position at Nick Immolara. Man, I can't wait.
Mr. Universe out there. That dude is just chiseled. I was like, what? You see him running around, and like obviously there's the Cam Chancellor thing for the Seahawks, and everybody knows about it. Mm-hmm. Who, if you've ever met Cam Chancellor in person, he's freaking ginormous. Like I met him in person, he was just like a mountain of a man. I was like, oh, you are absolutely huge. You're like 240. Right. So yeah, like I see the similarities to it. He does need to get quicker in how he reads plays, because that's where he struggles. His processing is not on par with his athleticism. Because if you had those two things together, you'd be talking about top 5 pick. Like that's just how talented he would be, right? So I want to see him progress in year 1. I don't think they're expecting a ton out of him. They're just probably expecting him to make some big plays, do some things, improve the defense.
Hit some people. Yeah.
Yes, and be the enforcer type, do the thing that you need to do. They're like, just roam, just blast people, have fun with it. So yeah, I think the defense is going to be fun. It got a lot better second half of the year. Like it was brutal to begin, and it slowly got better. And that's what you expect out of McDonald. In year 2 with McDonald, they got more of their playmakers they like. So, I mean, we still got Leonard Williams, who's really good. I want to see a couple of guys take a step in year 2 and year 3. And if like Derek Hall's been solid. It's just interesting. Like they're in kind of a weird spot, and that's why they're 8.5 wins. Because there's a lot of stuff you can like, but there's a lot of question marks about the team too, right? So you don't know how it's going to go. And when it comes to Seahawks, I'm just a negative fan. Like I've just been too burned over the years. So it's like, we'll see what happens, right? So I'm going to just watch the game, see what happens. But overall, for fantasy perspectives from those guys, it's JSN. And it's Kenneth Walker.
That's why I brought up the running or the defense, is because it's going to revolve around the running game.
Yes.
The offense is going to revolve around JSN and the running game. And I think that's it, to be honest with you. I don't see much else, right, from a pass catching perspective. So who is your dog tag with the Seattle Seahawks? And if it's not who I think it is, I'm going to be upset.
So I think the best buy is JSN, but if you want to do cheap buy, we'll go with your guy Elijah Arroyo. I think he brings something. That's
not who I was talking about, but I like it.
Oh, interesting. So JSN, I will go with him. Okay, yeah. I think JSN's the clear, like, hey, this guy could push for the league lead in targets this year. Like, there's a pathway to that. The issue to your point with that is the pass attempts. Jonnu Smith was 4th in the NFL in pass attempts. I don't think people understand how much they passed last year. They passed an absurd amount. Now, Darnold threw it 32 times a game last year. We're going to expect more of that. It's going to come down. They're not going to pass it 580 times. That's just no way. If that happens, the season has gone completely off the rails. So they'll probably be in the 520 range. Yeah, so I think JSN's the best bet you can get. He's not super expensive. He's like a high-priced dynasty wide receiver. Not super expensive. If you want to go dirt cheap, I think Elijah Arroyo is the guy where you could see a lot of upside attached to him, where a year or two from now, he makes the plays, he starts growing, you have a top 10 dynasty tight end.
Yeah, so with JSN, I know you said that the passes might not be there, the amount. My thing is he was in an offense with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and still was 11th in the league in targets last year. So, and 7th in receptions. Or no, sorry, 11th. I wrote targets and targets last year. So targets in 11th and 7th in receptions. So I think that is still in the range of outcomes with him, especially with the lack of pass catchers on the Seahawks offense, right? I think it's JSN no matter what. I see him going in the late 3rd in most, if not all, startups I've been a part of. And I wish I had more exposure to JSN. He's one of my favorite wide receivers because he kind of gives me that Amon-Ra St. Brown type vibe to him, tough player, tough after the catch, really good at getting open out of the slot. But I think he's got more to his game than just a slot wide receiver, kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think this kid, that's why I put him in my guys who are going to break the top 8 mold in the future for the Dynasty rankings. So, and then you mentioned a guy like Elijah Arroyo, right? He's a seam splitter. He's a guy who's going to be able to take the top off the defense, going down the middle. And I think that's something they need in that offense. Because you have 2 guys that are just going to kill up the short to intermediate routes, right? And then you got a guy in Arroyo who probably is your tight end too, at least to start the season. You guys have still have Noah Fant, right?
Yep, we got a ton of tight ends over here.
Yeah. No, not like the Eagles because we only have Dallas Goedert. And that's it. But I could see Arroyo making kind of a splash at some point, right? Maybe, middle of the season. The biggest issue with him, and they talked about it after, what was it, the post-draft presser that they did. If he was healthy, he would have been a top, a first-round pick is what they were saying. Now, that could just be coach speak, but he has that talent. The way I approached his rookie drafts is if I was going after the running backs, right? Because this was the running back class. Or I was going after the Emeka Ibukas, right? So I was missing out on Colston Loveland, who I like Colston Loveland. But I could get Colston Loveland in the 3rd round in Elijah Arroyo, right? Yeah. He has a very similar upside. Rick, obviously, Colston has the 1st-round capital. He's got production to kind of back it up, multiple years of production to back it up. He's in a good offense. But Elijah Arroyo is the similar kind of guy with the route running ability, the guy able to go deep. Still just a quality player. I'm very interested in Elijah Arroyo. So I love the call out by you.
Yeah, he has not played a lot of football. He missed a lot of time. I think he missed basically a full season between his he redshirted. He played 5 and then played 6. There's not a lot of catches. There's a lot. You're baking a lot of projection into him because it's the purely athletic freak show. You see the stuff you want to see, and you're like, oh boy, that upside. If he hits it, especially in like that range you're talking about in the third round. That's the perfect dart throw to take because we know how tight ends are. It's super weird with tight ends. You get into round 3, round 4. A lot of them don't hit. But when they do, you get these guys that are monsters. Case in point, George Kittle, who's that freak show that fell in the draft for – I still don't know why George Kittle fell in the draft. He's the freaking Iowa tight end. And they're like, guess what? We don't want this Iowa tight end. But, yeah, I think he's the guy that gives you a lot of upside. So JSN's lock and loaded wide receiver 1. Elijah, I mean, like Arroyo could probably give you like 400 yards maybe in year 1 if he like hits his peak. And then you kind of extend from there because they're going to get rid of Fant. They clearly do not like Noah Fant. So he's not one for Seattle.
I wonder what the number of yardages you're supposed to look for in a tight end their rookie season. Because you know how like that, I think the number for wide receivers is like 525 or something like that to project how good they are going to be throughout their career. I wonder what that number is for tight ends. I would like to, if somebody could be good with numbers and figure that one out for me, that'd be great.
There's going to be a couple of tight end guru dudes who we probably should talk to because I know some guys like really dive into that position. But yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but you make a good point. It's going to be like some threshold that you want them to hit.
And he could hit it. I just that type of wide receiver kind of scares me, right? The Kyle Pitts, the Dalton Kincaids, the Colson Mullins, Elijah Arroyo. But in the third round, it's worth it, right? Even if you want to throw a late 2026 second at him, I would do that. I did that in one league during the draft where it was like the 301 and I'm projected to be late. I was like, here's my 2026 second. Like, screw it. I'll take the game. Or no, I got a fifth on top of it. So I was like, I might as well take the shot. So
I can't take the shot.
Let's go into the Cardinals, right? Because this is a team that also is projected to win 8.5 games. They are in the third year of Jonathan Gannon. They had a nice season. They four wins his first year, 8 wins their second year. So they're in the right trajectory, right? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them. I could see them like it's crazy because we talk about 10.5, 9.5, 8.5, 8.5. All 4 of these teams could easily get past that, but like somebody has to be under it, right? Somebody has to. So I don't know who it is because this is probably one of the best divisions in football. Like we talked about the AFC West last show. They're probably one of the top dogs in the division rankings. AFC West has some very solid teams in it. So I don't know if I want the under or the over for the Cardinals, right?
I think it's the Kyler Murray show, right? If they can improve finally with the Kyler Murray and get what we've been chasing for him for the last year, because like the last 5 years, he's basically been the Mark Andrews of tight ends, like or quarterbacks. He's given you that like QB5 to QB12 range. Like he's just been there. It's been fine, but the last couple of years have been a little disappointing just because he hasn't hit the ceiling because he's like he's a short quarterback. He's not as good as Bryce Young is at dealing with that. Like he has a little bit more issues. He wants to scramble a lot more just because, he's a little guy that can just run around like that. Yeah. But
he's got more elusiveness than Bryce.
Yes, he does. So you needed to see them step forward. And he's at that point in his career. Like, do we know who Kyler Murray is? I think we probably have a pretty good idea who he is at this point. We're at like year 6. So if they feel like just a total just 500-ish team, kind of like Pittsburgh, just a little better offense though, where they have the pieces. You hope Marvin Harrison Jr. takes the jump. Trey McBride's going to do his thing. They have James Conner still really good. Who knows? Maybe Trey Benson. But it feels like just something's missing, and like you need Kyler Murray to carry that offense forward. So if he can,
guess what? My dog tag is going to be Kyler Murray.
Oh gosh.
So in our FFU startup we did just a few weeks ago, he was the 16th quarterback off the board. Right?
That's crazy.
That is kind of crazy. I had to count it twice to make sure I wasn't fucking up somewhere. And I kind of think I did, but like there's no way I counted it twice and wrong, right? But QB 16 off the board, he's constantly going in the 3rd or 4th round of startups, just depending. Let's just look back at a couple of the past 3 years for him. 2022, he got hurt. Weeks 1 through 12, he was QB 8 overall in points per game at 20.7. 2023, weeks 10 through 17 is when he came back after that injury from 2022. He was QB 10 at 19.1 points per game. And last year, full healthy season, QB 11 in points per game, right? He's been very solid, right? And it's like, I don't understand why we hate him so much. Like, He's got the rushing talent. He's going to get you like what 500, 600, 700 yards rushing, right? He's going to get you that nice floor. I think that's possible. We expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to take the next step. We expect Trey McBride to continue to do what he does. And now all of that benefits Kyler Murray. And let's not forget, he's still only 28 years old, a year and a half of fully being healthy, and he's signed up till 2029 with the Arizona Cardinals. I believe they have an out in 2028, but who knows? I still feel like he's in a tremendous value at this point for like that mid-first range. For a guy that could put up 20 points per game as your quarterback. Like, I would be relatively okay if I had him as my quarterback one, if I had a guy like Michael Penix as my QB2, or I'm trying to think of other guys that I would be okay with as my quarterback two. There's a couple guys, but if he was my quarterback one or my 1B with another quarterback, like if I got him in the fourth round, let's go this way. Him and Caleb Williams would be a great 1-2 punch to have for your dynasty rosters, right? Him and Justin Herbert. Like, he's going to give you that upside. Herbert's going to give you the passing floor, right? So I am very interested in Kyler Murray. I think he's one of the best options out there for quarterbacks when it comes to trade value, because you're not going to get this. Most of the guys you're trading for are not going to, you're hoping they hit that top 10 upside, right? And he's already done it several years, and even in just a few weeks of play, right? So I am very interested in Kyler Murray after you just spewed hatred on him for the past.
I've always, like, the way I look at quarterbacks is you have two pathways into the truly elite upside. It's rushing and it's passing touchdowns, right? Kyler Murray needs to give you a little bit more, because like his truly elite season 2020 was like 800 plus rushing yards. If you're giving me that, then yeah, we're cooking. We're talking top 5. Or the touchdowns increased to like 35 because he only had 21 passing touchdowns last year. So you need one of those things to jump up, or maybe they both jump up. Maybe it's like 650. He gives you close to 30 passing touchdowns. That's the way to get there. So he's one of the last guys that gives you the truly elite ceiling, because he's going below Drake May and all of these guys, these truly rushing quarterbacks, right? So he's one of your final pathways or entryways into the elite quarterbacks. And I'm a sucker for these freaking elite quarterbacks because the market loves them. And if they hit, like if Kyler Murray has a bounce back year, his value absolutely skyrockets, because you're getting him in like the fourth or third.
We keep calling him a bounce back, but he's like been in the top part of the quarterback. 11 is very good.
It is, but it's like the way you look at it compared to him and say like Jared Goff, like no one expects Goff to be like a top 3 quarterback. Yeah. Like I think the way we look at Kyler Murray is like we have that upside, the truly elite upside attached to him. So he feels more disappointing. Like he had a solid year. He's like 68% completion percentage last year. He did a lot of solid stuff for you. It's just a lot of times with Kyler Murray, you're left wanting more. And when you have the players like that, like it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And I have Kyler on way too many. I think I have like 40% Kyler Murray. So I'm the guy that I have the guy like all over the place. Yeah. Because like I say, I always love these rushing quarterbacks. So I'm like, oh yeah, rushing quarterback, smash. I'll deal with it, whatever, right? And then you get the Trey Lances of the world, but Kyler Murray's giving you that middle ground where the floor is high and he's solid. So I know we're like kind of shitting on him a little. I'm shitting on him a little bit, but like I think he's a solid choice. And in that range, you could do a lot worse than taking Kyler Murray, because if we look a year from now, his value is not going to fall off a cliff. A couple of the guys in that round 4, they're going to be dropped down to like round 8, round 9. Like they will absolutely fall off. So
like Brock Purdy,
he's got a super high floor. Brock, like the thing with Brock Purdy is he's good. So like, and he's in a good system. So yeah, his value is capped, I would say. Like you're not going to get the truly elite. Like, like you talk about Mahomes and those guys who knows, maybe he not allowed to be anymore. But like Murray just has to do a little bit better. If he could bring it up, I think you're talking about possibly top 6 quarterback. Because like, when you get past the big 4, then he can maybe 5, 6, 7 in that range. And if he does that, like you're going to be thrilled buying him in the 4th round. So hell yeah, dude, I'll buy Kyler Murray all the time, even though I was like just like talking about it.
Like, so I'm looking this up real quick because I actually forgot to notate it. Because you mentioned the touchdowns, you want them to progress. If Trey McBride were just to fall in the fucking end zone more than 2 times a year, I think Kyler Murray, like if he could hit that 6, then we're talking about Kyler having, goes from quarterback 11 to probably quarterback 7, right? For a couple more touchdown passes. So I think that could change a lot if Trey McBride could find the fucking end zone.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
But let's go with my doghouse. And this one might be a little bit of a surprise. to most people because, pretty sure it was the FFU league. I drafted him in the 12th round, and then I felt pretty good about it. And then I looked at what happened around him, and I kind of was like, kind of could have gone a different way than this. It's going to be Trey Benson is my doghouse. I was looking at some of his values, and it kind of concerns me a little bit that we're maybe hoping a little bit too much for him, right? Super depressing rookie season, 63 carries, 291 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, which is nice. 1 TD, 6 receptions, 59 yards. Never saw more than 35% of the snaps throughout the entire season. And that is with an aging James Conner, right? You would think they would get the young gun in there, the guy that we all consider pretty explosive as a running back in there, and it didn't happen, which is super concerning to me. We all got excited about him landing there with Conner, being older. But then during the season, in November, they gave James Conner a 2-year extension for $19 million. When a team gives you an extension during the season, they're like, okay, we've seen enough from you that we believe that you could still give us a couple more years. And that concerns the shit out of me for Trey Benson, right? Besides James Conner, we expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to take a step up. That takes away from him. We expect Trey McBride to continue. We expect James Conner to be that guy continued for at least the next 1 to 2 years because they need to win football games like we just mentioned with Gannon as their football coach. And then we got a guy in Michael Wilson who I was like, why is he still kind of like floating around in a lot of leagues, or why is he still like going earlier than I thought? But he's been 500 plus yards at both of his seasons these past 2 years, which is kind of surprising to me. Like I didn't expect that, right? So we expect him to kind of be around the same. His ADP, he's going around like Travis Etienne. I would take Etienne over him at this point. Like I would even still gamble on that. Cortland Sutton, Kyle Williams, Xavier Legette. Listen.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
The crazy thing is that I've seen him. So one of them was ours. He went the pick after, and then one of them was a Devy league, which he went like a round later. He's been flip-flopping with Zach Charbonnet. I am taking Zach Charbonnet over Trey Benson every single time. I don't understand the fucking hatred for Zach Charbonnet. I don't get it. I was talking to someone earlier, my buddy Chris, and this is not a shot at Chris. He said Trey Benson has the workhorse ability, and I'm thinking to myself, well, Kenneth Walker, not workhorse ability. I forget the exact words he used. I'm paraphrasing. He said has the workhorse. Not what the fuck did he say?
Well, like build or something.
No, it wasn't that. It was the workout. Jesus. I'll find it. Just give me a second.
Okay.
But like I said, with Zach Charbonnet, it's, when Ken Walker misses games, which happens every year, I call him Mr. Oblique or Oblique Lookout. He, has produced every single fucking time he's been called upon. He's one of the best handcuffs, if not the best handcuff. Workhorse path was the word because of James Conner's age.
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet, Ken Walker's on a contract year as well. So Zach Charbonnet's got a workhorse path in him as well, and especially with the amount of times Ken Walker's been hurt. I couldn't think of that word for the life of me, and it was driving me insane. We've seen Zach Charbonnet be efficient. We've seen him carry a full workload. We haven't, like I said, we haven't even seen Trey Benson be over 35% of snaps in an NFL football game. So that, to me, tells me that Zach Charbonnet should be going ahead of a Trey Benson as a priority handcuff. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, obviously you're a Seahawks fan, so you might have a little bit. We all do it. So we all do it. So I'm just a little concerned about Trey Benson's value.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It doesn't make any sense to me. When a guy and this went the other way with Tank Bigsby last year, like he got good in year 2 because he was one of the worst rookie running backs you will ever see. You watch him and you're like, holy shit, this guy can't play football. In year 2, he looked like the guy that we saw at Auburn. Dude, Trey Benson got opportunity when James Conner was injured, and they're like, nah, we're splitting work with you. Like, you're not a workhorse guy. When they tell you that, and then the team's like, we've seen enough from Trey Benson, we're going to extend James Conner. That's all you really need to know. Like James Conner's still a really good NFL running back. He doesn't make mistakes. He just consistently churns out yards, positive plays, does it for years. And he's a decent pass catcher too. He's just been that guy that's been undervalued forever. And I know people I think SC, I don't mean to call SC out here. He had Trey Benson as RB1 last year because of all the things we talk about with the size, the athleticism. But the thing with running backs, and we're seeing this more, is that there's so much more that makes running back besides size and athleticism. Because if you would have the freak shows of truly freak shows just be the best running backs in the NFL, there would be guys who have consistently faded where it'd be like, oh yeah, that guy's a stud because he's 225, runs a 4.3. But like you see it, and Benson, what worried me last year coming out was his vision is super weird. It doesn't make sense. There was a hole in Florida State, wide open left guard. He's like, you know what? This is 10 feet wide. I'm going to bounce it outside and go around. I watch that play and I go, what the fuck did he watch? It was like watching DeAndre Swift run, and I cannot stand it because DeAndre Swift pisses me off because he does the same thing. So you see these guys do these things, and you're like, yeah, dude, that's a big question mark. And the teams will tell you. They'll be like, if you don't do what you want to do at running back, we have other people who could do it. So they bring in DeMarcado, they bring in these other guys, right? And they're just like, they're fine. We don't care. So, yeah, I get it, but like to your point with Charbonnet, like when he stepped in and needed, he's gotten the bell cow workhorse. Like he's been that 80% workload, like guy that's getting it. Benson's not getting any of that. So unless we see what Tank Bigsby like 2.0 thing happened this year, where he shows us that he was the guy we hoped he could be, like I don't know. If you could make that move and sell him to Kyle Williams or any one of those guys or freaking Courtland Sutton for a contender, hell yeah, like just smash that because you're getting guys that can actually produce. Trey Benson's what we call as I can feel he's gonna be a roster clogger for people. It's just gonna be brutal. So
you mentioned SC having him as his running back one. Pre-draft, he was my running back two behind Bucky Irving. So that ended up working out pretty well.
Oh, Bucky. I loved Bucky. Oh, boy. And then I faded him because of the combine. I regret that so much.
I didn't fade him because of the combine. It was the draft. I was like, fourth round, still solid. But, like, we're talking about an RB1 or 2 in a weak running back class, right?
Yeah.
So, it was projected to be a bad running back class. We got a few decent players out of it. But I put out a poll earlier today. You mentioned Kyle Williams. Because I looked at their ADPs, they're similar. Their keep trade cut value is similar. Who would you rather have on your dynasty rosters? 52% Kyle Williams, 48% Trey Benson. So the community out of 75 votes, which is solid, it's a solid number. I'll take that as long as it's not like 6. So
yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised that it's this close because like. Obviously, we're betting on a third-round wide receiver versus a third-round running back from the year prior who hasn't shown anything. So you're kind of going rookie versus rookie at this point, like because I feel like we didn't see much of Benson to really call that a season, right? And I think, again, I don't have any kind of information to back this up, but I feel like betting on third-round running backs over third-round wide receivers is probably the right decision, right? And for fantasy football purposes. But I think Kyle Williams is going to be that dude, right? I really think Kyle Williams could be a very nice, like, number 2 for an offense, like not fantasy-wise wide receiver 2. Like maybe he gets like some is a good flex option, like that could be in this range of outcomes, or a wide receiver 3 for fantasy. Like I think that's very possible for a guy like Kyle Williams. I don't know if we see RB2 from Benson, and if we do, we got to wait like another 2 years now for that to hit, right? Because he's a handcuff until then. Kyle Williams, we could see that, next year or, some of this year. So I think it's time to move on from a guy like Benson. Cut your losses, cut your losses, re-roll, whatever you got to do. It's sad, but because I believed in him too. I thought he was just a really good playmaker.
Like to your point, that poll shows you how much the community still believes in him, right? Like there's still people that like him, even though he gave us a stinker of a rookie season. And when guys give us a stinker of a rookie season, that usually tells us, like, hey, cut bait. Because if he sucks in year 2, he's going to be worthless. So, like, here's your chance to sell him if you want to.
This one just popped in my head. I don't know why. Would you rather have Trey Benson or Marshawn Lloyd plus a third?
Oh, the third. I want the guy plus the third for sure. Because, like, we see what thirds can be, right? Like, it's just – and I can use that.
It could be anything. It could even be a vote.
I mean, Marshawn Lloyd he got injured and dealt with a lot of crap in year 1, so there's a lot of like question marks about him too. But you're getting a third on top, so like I will just take the third, bank it, and hope Marshawn Lloyd like improves in year 2. It's like it's the same bet we're kind of making between the two guys. dealt with more injuries and stuff. But like, you get the third. So yeah, do it.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that. But Jesse, that will be it for this episode. I appreciate you having the time to jump on with us. Tell us where they can find you, what you're working on, and where. I just kind of said it again. I almost said where they can find you again, but do the whole spiel.
Yeah, right. I'm not doing too much fancy content at the moment. I will be doing more in season. But yeah, you can find me JMoeller05 at Blue Sky. I randomly post TikToks, do some fun stuff with that. So if you want to enjoy the fun of the video aspect, but yeah, and then I just, I help you guys in the background do a lot of stuff with FFU. So yeah, just make sure whatever you do, you follow and subscribe, like all the fun stuff from FFU, because we've been doing stuff. You guys have been doing stuff all this off season, and we got stuff building into the season. So yeah, like just make sure you all do that. Yes, I bet you are. I bet you are.
It's been very fun. Like I can't thank you guys enough and I'm going to do this. Like I'll give you guys your flowers for the FFU, giving Rich and I a chance to have this platform, because it's been a lot of fun. Like we might not be the best, but we're trying, right? We're trying to give people the best information, right?
Hey,
so I really appreciate you jumping on. I really appreciate everything you've done for the Dynasty Dogs. The end of every episode, except for last week, I forgot to do it. Rich and I usually like to bring up, if you're struggling mentally, to make sure you're reaching out to somebody, making sure that your mental health is intact, making sure that you have, all your ducks in a row, as they say. Just make sure, you don't feel alone. Like you have, there are people that out there that love you and care about you. So if you're struggling, making sure you're reaching out. So like I said, Rich and I, mental health matters. And we're going to try to do that every single episode. But again, my brain sometimes goes in different directions. So
I know.
ADHD really kicks my ass.
Yeah. I feel it. I understand. But yeah, 100%. Like mental health is super important, and just never give up. Like there's always people that care about you. So make sure you never forget that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, this is the Dynasty Dogs. We will see you guys next week. We'll probably pick the division to talk about by that time. So who knows what we're going to be talking about. But we will see you guys next time. Have a good night.